Really appreciate everyone joining today. This is part of an ongoing series that Meridian Business has sponsored with a partner spotlight series. If you hit the next slide, Sarah, I'll explain a little bit more in depth. Meridian is a technology consulting services provider. We provide a full range of services from the pre-sales side, from helping folks look at a systems upgrade from a configuration or a business process standpoint, as well as third-party solution analysis and research. And we further help folks with the implementation, support, and ongoing managed services of the NetSuite platform. The Partner Spotlight series is really focused on that third-party analysis and research. As much as Meridian is invested in the NetSuite platform as what we take to market for our client base, there are areas where the NetSuite solution may need to be extended or offer a further solution than perhaps the NetSuite platform itself provides. And if you would, Sarah, maybe the next slide.
Certainly.
Case in point, MineralTree provides a full suite of AP automation and payment solutions. And I'll turn it over to Sarah Chowry here in just a moment, and her team, to take you through an explanation of the MineralTree solution and its value add. I would call attention that we're doing these on a monthly basis, and our next spotlight will give you a view into CFO systems. They're expert financial and strategic services business consulting provider, and we'll be highlighting them next month. But with that, I want to turn it over to Sarah and help us all understand what MineralTree can offer. So Sarah, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Doug. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sarah. I'm from MineralTree. I run the sales team over there, and I'm looking forward to explaining a little bit more about what we have to offer and why we should definitely be something to consider as you embark on your journey with NetSuite. So just to get started, a little bit about where we're coming in from. We were born in Boston in 2010, a very long time ago, and we actually recently have gotten acquired from by a company called Global Payments as of September 2021. So we are very much a business that is very familiar with companies on using NetSuite. That was our first integration that we released to the public. And we do have other integrations, but NetSuite is our most prominent and our most robust. In addition to working directly with NetSuite customers, we're also sold through a number of banks across the US, and we currently process over $18 billion in payments every year. So our presentation today is going to go through our full suite, our AP automation tool, our payment optimization tool, and the Supplier Central portal, which is very, very new, that some of you all will be seeing for the first time here. In addition to going through a lot of that, what makes all of this, come together, and what makes all of this possible is not just the software, but also the security that's behind the software. We are SOC 1 and we are SOC 2 and HIPAA compliant. So in the event that, any of those pieces are relevant to your business, which I assume they probably are, you have no worries partnering with a company like ours. We are one of the only AP automation providers in our space that is SOC 1, SOC 2, and HIPAA compliant. So I'm looking forward to a great afternoon going through all of this. All right. So just to get started here, I wanted to flash a little bit about the brands that we have in common. The brands that we have as customers. And if you look at the Baltimore Ravens and Adagio Therapeutics, Simple Mills, any of these brands, you'll probably notice one thing, which is that a lot of these companies do not have anything in common. Actually, like, what does Salesforce have to do with Collegium Pharmaceuticals? And nothing. And that's partially why, working at MineralTree, personally is a great place to be, is regardless of whether you are a company that makes gluten-free goods like Simple Mills, I really, their stuff is great, or Baltimore Ravens, we all know them very well. You have a back office and your back office has a accounts payable department that, needs to be, functioning in order to run your business. So all of these companies, for the most part, actually, majority of these companies do use NetSuite and they use MineralTree. And they've been able to significantly grow over the past few years because of their investment with NetSuite and MineralTree. And I'm looking forward to sharing exactly how. So just to proceed here, before I get into the details of how we do it, all the back end details of what AP automation looks like, how we capture bills, how we automate your payments process, I could go on and talk through all of it. And I'm hoping actually that I can cover most of the demo this afternoon as well. I wanted to share a little bit about why we're here automating and optimizing your AP and payments process today, especially 2022, 2 years into the pandemic, really matters. And before I get into the specifics of why, I really like to flash this screen here. We do this at the beginning of any of our initial meetings with potential MineralTree prospects, and I just like to very candidly ask, what does your AP process look like? Do any of these steps look familiar? Do you have to currently, get your bills from multiple places and make sure that regardless of whether they're going, where they're coming in, that they get signed off on by the right people? And then once they're signed off on, do you have somebody that works above you that typically, or below you, that typically is in charge of gathering the payment information and making sure that, the payments are correct before you're ready to release them? And then sometimes when you're working with your suppliers, there might be various managers and department heads that are, all across your organization that have some feedback about whether you want to pay that vendor or whether you should pay that vendor the full amount of what they're asking for. So as a company continues to scale, the fact that, various members of the organization, senior members, managers, whatever it might be, are going to be involved with paying suppliers and making sure that, what I mean, the bills that they incur are properly seen through in order to continue running their business is inevitable. It's never going to be a situation where only finance spends money. Marketing, every other department that you're working with, if you're a high growth organization, is going to have some hand in paying bills. And as a CFO or as a finance professional, regardless of where you're sitting, you're not going to be involved in the conversation for every single one of those transactions, but you are going to be responsible for making sure that those transactions are correctly and securely executed and also on time. So our typical company that we would partner with typically is using has some type of AP process that resembles this. And we're excited to share exactly how you can continue to have the control that our finance customers really appreciate having, our CFOs need in order to function their correctly, have their AP department functioning, but without having to do all the manual steps that are involved that are outlined here. So the first piece about that is long term, once we get through this presentation, I'm hopeful that you'll be able to see how MineralTree can very easily get you to what this looks like, to really only focusing on making sure the coding and approvals of your bills are complete, building a payment run, and then authorizing that payment run to go out when you're ready. Because even though all these steps are involved with making sure that your bills get collected and paid and approved correctly, you shouldn't have to, in the year of 2022, have to go through so many, put so many pieces of the puzzle together. It should be a scenario where with accounts payable, you can focus on what really matters, which is, are these bills signed off on by the right people? Have the right ones been selected to be paid? And when do we want to pay them? So with our product, what you'll be able to hopefully be able to see is that, yes, you're going to have a great state-of-the-art, long-term, efficient AP process, but you're also going to be able to, save hopefully up to 80% of your processing time and use that for a more strategic initiative at your business. We're not oblivious to the fact that when companies, especially high growth companies that are making the investment into NetSuite, are planning for the future, thinking about how their accounts payable department being run is not the top of their list. That's not probably what the focus on. It's probably more like, hey, how do we How are we better at collecting revenue? How do we make our product better? How do we make our sales team sell X amount more? And our idea with MineralTree is that we want you to be very proud of your back office, and we want to be part of, part of the support that you'll need to really focus on scaling your business and spending your time on more strategic goals than accounts payable. So, with that being said, these are some of the items that MineralTree will enable you to have more time to do once we get rid of some of the steps. And I'm excited especially to talk a little bit about the review vendor contracts and negotiate better terms and discounts. Because those of you that are familiar with AP automation that are on this call, you probably know, right? Yes, invoice capture will definitely help you capture your bills. I'll talk about that, but it's something that's great that we do. It's not the newest thing. We're always trying to make sure that we're adding additional value to our customers. I'm excited to talk about how we can help with the payments piece, the reconciliation. I don't think I've ever met a CFO or accountant that's complained to me about how hard their reconciliation is, and also how the vendor, you'll be able to make sure that you're getting the best possible terms with your vendors in the long term. So that being said, MineralTree does a state of AP report every year. And this is what we found as of our, there's a state of AP report 2021 that you can look up and download from our website if you're interested in reading it. But we found that, of course, AP and payment optimization is the #1 digitization priority for the year of 2021. And we looked into a little bit about why that's the case. And it's quite frankly because of COVID. COVID has changed the way that the back office of many organizations run and how things are run. I think that it was very evident, especially for those companies that were still manually, writing checks and collecting mail in the early months of March 2020, April 2020. Not that any of us want to think back to that time. The only person really, unless depending on the industry that you're in, let me take that back. But if you're at a software company or if you're at a company that pretty much, does most of their business online, the only person at your office that really needed to go in to, still operate, make sure their department was operating correctly was the accounting team, was that accounts payable person. And it's because those accounts payable people are the accounting, manager that you have is the one that's in charge of getting the mail and also is the one that's in charge of making sure that the checks are signed by the right person and that the bills are keyed in and all that great stuff. So, there's no doubt that as the world changes and hopefully, in the coming months gets a little bit better, that we need flexibility across our organization to be fully remote or have a hybrid workplace. And when you're separated from your office and the only reason you're getting forced to go in is to pick up the bills and send the payments out because your organization calls for a certain level of control and you're not set up with the infrastructure to do it in a digital way. It was not actually surprising to us that as of 2021, our space, AP and payment optimization was the #1 digitization priority. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as we proceed here. But, as we looked into a little bit about why this was the case, we thought a little bit past what a lot of the accountants and the CFOs and the controllers that we meet with every day tell us. We thought a little bit past their symptoms. Usually when we're meeting with a company that's looking to learn more about MineralTree, it's always the same story. It's always, we have a lot of bills, they come in all over the place and it takes, Maria or, Kurt, 20 minutes or 30 minutes to even get them together and then make sure that they're keyed in correctly. And then it's painful to get the approvals. And then if they're late, it's annoying. And it's like, okay, all right. Yes, your invoice entry process is painful. So what? It is what it is. Like paper processes, there's a lot of parts of my job, as a sales leader that are pretty painful. I won't tell my Salesforce administrator that, but it's true. And when we looked into a little bit more about, the symptoms of their process are paper is painful, getting checks signed is painful, reconciliation is painful. We realized this is the case across every organization, but at the same time, There are a number of different situations where, what your employees sometimes have to do are painful, and some of them are inevitable. But with AP automation, there's a risk of like, okay, it's painful, but at the end of the day, you'll get through it, you'll put the extra hours in, and then you'll be happy on the other side. The reason that's not exactly going to be the case for the long term, and it's already not the case anymore, is that if you have a manual, painful AP process that is not scalable and does not have an audit friendly trail to go with it, not only are you putting your company, you're probably not making that AP person or accounting person very happy in their role. You're, taking away their ability to scale their own career and focus on more valuable activities. But the business impacts of manual accounts payable, go well beyond just, an unhappy employee. We just talked about the lack of business and continuity, the work from home support that, you'll need in order to proceed with having a hybrid workplace. But also, when it comes to, just having bills that might be here, might be outstanding, haven't gotten keyed in yet. If you don't keep up with that, and let's say that person that runs your accounts payable department is out, or, it changes, all of a sudden, it's much harder to see and understand how to forecast your AP, your spend for the month, and forecast what you should pay, and forecast, what's coming in, and, spend accordingly to that, because you're missing a piece of that. It's very costly to have a manual AP process. There are mistakes that people make. Sometimes when your vendors obviously are not paid on time, it really impacts the relationship that you have with them, which can lead to late fees or just, pissed off vendors, which we don't want. And then also, of course, nobody wants to talk about it, but the internal and external fraud. We all think about external fraud and fake bills and fake payments and stuff like that. And yes, our system covers that, but are we talking and thinking enough about the internal fraud? Like, sometimes I meet companies that are already feeling like they're doing a good job with their accounts payable. Not that they aren't, but it's because because they already have a good way of, as an example, processing ACH payments. They're like, yep, I get the ACH file, get ready in NetSuite, and then we download it, and then we upload it to the bank, and it's beautiful, and we don't need AP automation. We're good. We're ahead of the curve. The answer is that really the case? Because if that person that's running, that ACH process on behalf of you decides when they, download that ACH file to change it to their information or change it to whatever bank account that they have that they want that money to be sent to, and then once they upload it, it gets sent. How do you keep track of that? How do you make sure that doesn't happen? Or are you going to be in a place where you're very reactive and it's a very time consuming and costly and painful way to, address that type of mistake? So that's just one example. There are a lot. I won't drag you through all of them, but we do it on this call for at least. We'll do it later. And then we'll talk a little bit about the cost savings and revenue opportunities. Rebates from AP spend is a huge thing. Nobody ever comes to us, quite frankly, for the rebates that their AP spend can generate. Everybody comes to us because they don't want to key in bills. They don't want to have to manually send checks. We can do that for you. We do that all day. What we can do to take a step further is talk about how all of a sudden your accounts payable department is also a profit center, and you're getting hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars every month back in cashback rebates to hopefully offset your investment in AP automation or in NetSuite or both, depending on what your AP spend looks like and who you're paying, right? So we'll talk a little bit about this. I don't want to spend too much time on the inability to scale without adding headcount. Like, we all know that here. That's what we're doing. That's what we're trying to do all day, every day. So now to get into the product, and I will make sure to hopefully cut off right at 2:35, probably at the latest, to ensure that we have plenty of time for the demo. I will get into the product now. It looks like there's a few people that have joined us. Is there any questions that I can answer while we're going here, or should I just go ahead and proceed?
I think you can go ahead and proceed, Sarah.
All right, you got it. So today we're going to talk about the TotalAP software right here at the top and what that is composed of. And we are also going to talk about the service element of our business, which is MineralTree payment optimization, and also this new feature that we've added called Supplier Central. And it's much more than it's a feature. It's on its own, it could be a great product, but it's one of the many wonderful features of MineralTree. So I will get started with talking about the TotalAP software. that is focused on the most common pain points that we come across when we're working with a company to automate their accounts payable. And, in a nutshell, this is what it looks like. So what happens when you are using something like MineralTree is we will build you a MineralTree company or companies, depending on your NetSuite environment and whether you have one world or not. So if you have one world, we can make it so that multiple subsidiaries come into one super MineralTree company. If you have multiple NetSuite subsidiaries, we can, and then you want them to be managed separately, we can give you multiple MineralTree companies, no problem. And what will happen is we'll give you the company, we'll connect it through to NetSuite through our API. It takes like 10, 15 minutes max to get set up. It's very, very straightforward. Once we connect the two systems through our API, all of a sudden a two-way sync, excuse my chicken scratch, I just got a new mask, a two-way sync will take place. And then moving forward, your vendors, your chart of accounts, your payment history, all the data that we will really need in our system will all of a sudden show up in MineralTree. And then moving forward, all you'll need to do is get your bills emailed or scanned into our product. And once they are emailed or scanned into our product, regardless of whether they're coming from a vendor, they're coming from an employee, there's things being mailed in, we can even give you a PO box so you don't have to scan anything again in. Once they come into our system, we are going to capture those bills. And we have a smart technology capture that will allow us to get your capture up to over 99% with the combination of OCR and human review. We do all of that for you. So by the time the bill comes to you, it's beautiful, it's ready to go. And we're just waiting for you to review it, right? So we capture the bill. If there's a purchase order available in NetSuite for us to match it against, we certainly will. If there isn't, then we'll just go ahead and route it for invoice approval. And you can use any of the dimensions in NetSuite to build your approval process. So you can make it so it's based on department, class, location, whatever you want, or even something as simple as vendor. And you can add it, make it sequential. You can put dollar amounts to it. You can build multiple layers of approval, and you can put multiple people in each layer. So that way the right person gets the bill every time. And if you pre-build these rules, you don't even have to do any of this. And then once you're ready, once this bill is beautiful, marketing or whoever has signed off on the bill, all you'll need to do is hit post. And then once you hit post, the bill is going to go into NetSuite. So that is how, from the very beginning, regardless of whether your bills are coming from, Spain or another vendor, an accounts payable person here, whoever it might be, or all 50 of your locations, they can come through our system. We do the hard work for you. You just oversee the approvals, and then you hit post. The bills are in NetSuite. You know that they're perfect. The documents are in NetSuite. And then the next step is to build a payment run. And that's when accounts payable will choose what needs to get paid. And then we'll have somebody like the CFO come into play, where that CFO will see the bills. They'll see who approved them. They'll say yes, they'll say no. And then once they approve the bills, we will send the payments out through your bank, directly from your bank, and then make sure that whether it's a check or an ACH or a wire or a virtual card, whatever it could possibly be, even if it's in a different currency, even if your invoices are in different currencies, no problem. We will handle them and we'll make sure that they get to the right place and that they're paid correctly. So I'm happy to talk through more details about the payment optimization. But regardless of what your AP process looks like, give us a shot. I guarantee if this is your goal, we can get it to look like this. And then I know that there's various nuances like purchase orders and custom fields and all that great stuff. That's where, our partnership with Doug's team really comes into play, where we'll work together to ensure our system is beautifully running for both of us. Okay. So just keep in mind, MineralTree syncs with NetSuite. It's a two-way sync and it runs every 5 minutes. So as you work in MineralTree or as you work in NetSuite, you don't have to worry about things not matching up. We will do that for you. It'll be very straightforward. So just as we proceed here, I wanted to flash a little bit about the rules that we have, and we do have unlimited users with our system. Accounting manager is the most common, as you'd expect. The person that's running AP, invoices are approvers are people outside of finance, payment authorizers are people, typically releasing the payments or signing the checks. Everybody can do what they need to. And then this is the new role that I'm going to introduce you to, which is MineralTree. So MineralTree does much more than just getting your payments out to your vendors. We also make sure that as you all continue to onboard new vendors, as payment information changes, as vendors are not, responding to payment questions, or they haven't cashed their payment check or whatever it might be, that we're on top of that for you so that your team can really just focus on making sure that the bills that you want are paid, and you can control when you want to pay them so that they get there at the right time. Anything else, MineralTree will take off your plate. So that's what I introduce you here to our payment operations team, who eventually will become an extension of your own accounts payable team. We have supplier enrollment. So that way, when you're first starting with us to, when you've been our customer for 4 or 5 years, every time we see a new vendor in NetSuite, it's going to show up in MineralTree, and we'll be able to be like, all right, it looks like, Waste Management is a new vendor for, Kurt's company. It is what it is. We'll go ahead, we'll reach out to Waste Management, we'll confirm their payment information, we'll make sure that it's securely entered into our system, and we'll also see if they have the capability to accept e-payments, if that includes ACHs and virtual cards. If they do, wonderful. We're going to save your team a ton of money. We're going to make it easier for your vendor to get paid. If they don't, then, we'll deal with it. We'll get their check mailing address, we'll put it in securely and make sure they're paid with the check. After we are done with enrolling your vendors, we'll also make sure that you have a good mix of payment types, and you have a good chance of seeing what type of rebates and AP, your AP spend can generate. And we'll work with you to ensure that your rebates are paid to you quarterly, to ensure that you have a way of offsetting your costs with us. And then finally, long-term supplier inquiries. This is usually what nobody ever wants to volunteer how much time this takes, because you probably don't realize it, but the day-to-day emails about, where's our payment? We have our new ACH information here. You need to upload it, whatever it might be. Instead of that coming to your accounts payable team and having them kind of be reactive to this kind of stuff, MineralTree will ensure that if your suppliers have changes, if they have questions, if they can't find their payment for whatever reason, anything that can come up, we are on top of, so that your team can really be focused on just, the more valuable added activities. So an example would be, a check has been outstanding for more than 7 days. Instead of your team catching that during the reconciliation process, MineralTree will see that this check has been outstanding, and will be like, hey, supplier X, Y, and Z, this check has been sent to you. You need to cash it. I don't know what's going on here, but it's right here. Make sure you pay it. So your team doesn't have to do anything like that. We also do the same thing with virtual cards. Usually with ACHs, luckily there's not a ton that a supplier would need to do. And we also make sure that they have detailed remittance, and in the event they're having trouble understanding how to apply their payment, we take care of that for you. So this is a huge value add, and it's a great way to outsource your accounts payable without fully outsourcing it, because I know outsourcing scares people. You still have full control. You just don't have to do any of the grunt work that nobody wants to do. And then I'm happy to introduce the newest offering that we have here today. It's called Supplier Central, and our Supplier Central platform also will enable your vendors in the event that they prefer to update their payment preferences on their own, do that themselves, see the payment statuses for the various bills that you've paid to them, download remittance, and also process virtual cards. So the same way that we work with our customers, and we try to make sure that we give them the very, very best service, obviously, because we want to make sure that we have a good reputation, we remain competitive in the market. We see your suppliers the same way we see you all, as customers, as people that we want to make sure that are very happy, enthusiastic about MineralTree. And by making it so that they have a very, very easy platform to come in and see where their bills are, not just for your company, but for all the companies that use MineralTree, all of a sudden their accounts receivable department has a lot easier of a time, finding out where things are, when, giving their CFO a forecast of, when they're going to get paid. So by making it so that your suppliers are just as excited to use MineralTree as you are, you'll see that you'll get more adoption on the e-payment side, and it'll just be easier in general to work with them, because it'll mean less outreach, for both us and you, which we're going to take off your hands from the beginning anyway. So I think I have a few more slides, and then I'll be getting into the demo here. I think this is the last one, actually. This is a little slogan we came up with. If there's one thing that you take away from this conversation, because I know I've done a lot of talking for 30 minutes straight, I'll take a little bit of a break here in just a second. Just keep in mind that you submit, we remit. You submit your bills, you fund them, and we'll make it easy for you to reconcile them. And we'll make sure those payments get to the right person. We'll get you some savings, and we'll also make sure that your vendors understand what they're being paid for and what's going on, so everything is as straightforward as possible. Okay, so I'm ready to get into the demo here in just a minute. I'm just going to stop sharing for just a second as I pull that up. And if anybody has any questions as I pull up the demo system, I really welcome them. It's always more fun to talk to somebody than talk to yourself for a solid 30 minutes. If not, then no worries. All right, go ahead and share. So it looks like you can see my screen. So I'm going to go ahead and log into my NetSuite environment, MineralTree for NetSuite environment. And once I log in, you can see right here. If you do have multiple entities, all you need to do is type in the name, and then it will bring it up to you very easily. Excuse me. So once you are logged into our system, you are able to see right here your aging graph, your general ledger cash, your bank cash balance. And as you can see right here in this corner, everything is updated very frequently, typically every 5 to 10 minutes, MineralTree and NetSuite update. So as your bank cash, general ledger cash, anything changes, we'll be able to see that and take care of that for you. So let's talk about how bills get into our system. All right. So you hit this little page button right here in the corner, and this is your inbox. When you email bills, when you scan them in here, they're going to show up line by line. You'll be able to see who sent them in, who uploaded them. And if you prefer to look at them in like this, you can do that, or you can look at them, in what we call our card view. Make it bigger if you want to see it a little bit closer. So bills come here, and then once they're captured, you can click on this little invoices tab right here. And that's when you'll be able to see them on the screen. This screen represents not only bills that have been captured and are only in MineralTree, but also bills that might be coming over from NetSuite as well. So you can see the vendor name, the amount remaining, the due date, the number of documents tied, the approval status, the notes that were written on the bill, the invoice number, and then I'll talk about this status in a little bit as well. But also, if there's a PO affiliated with the bill, we actually do the purchase order matching for our customers on their behalf. So that if there's a bill that comes in and there's an existing purchase order that's in NetSuite, instead of your accounts payable person having to, put on their reading glasses and look at the bill and look at the PO number and say, does this match? Does it not match? Is this price correct? I don't know. We will do that for you right off the bat. So the way that your accounts payable person will be able to navigate this screen is they'll be able to say, all right, I want to see bills that are only in MineralTree that haven't gotten a NetSuite yet. And their goal is to get anything that we call a draft into this little box status, which means posted. So if that's the case, I'm going to say, let me see all bills that are in draft status, they're not in NetSuite, and have not been approved yet. So that's when I can select right here, awaiting approval. If you want to filter by due date or discount date or invoice date, you can always do that as well, no problem, or any of the different fields. So then I hit search, and then it gives me a little bit of an overview of bills that are awaiting approval. They haven't been signed off on by their corresponding approver yet. And hopefully once they are signed off on, I'll be able to post them into NetSuite. So I'll just pick an example. I'll click on this invoice right here, FW Web. And I can see right here, here's the PDF of the bill, here's the vendor name, the invoice number, the amount, and then as I scroll down, I can see how it's been captured as it looks like an item. So you can see we'll pick up the quantity, we'll pick up the cost per, the amount, and you can have us pick things up as items, of course, if you have purchase orders like this one, or if you prefer to have us pick it up as an expense, you can put that setting in there as well. You can see how the fields are coming over from NetSuite. If for some reason something, is not able to be coded based on the default coding you give us, you can always type it in right here if you need to. And if you need to add lines or delete lines or make any changes, you certainly can. And if you're curious to see where it is in terms of its approval chain, it shows right here. Megan looks like needs to approve it. Obviously, this is our demo system, so things are always hanging out here and a little bit longer than they should. One of the things that I want to show you is a copy coding feature, because yes, we capture the bill. Ideally, things look great and you'll be able to get it approved and coded correctly. But let's talk about those bills that typically come to your company every month. And because of the way they get coded, they typically take a lot more time than you would like them to, because of the, you know what I mean, because of the specific way you want to, segment a bill. So I clicked on this Best Buy bill as an example. Instead of me breaking up this, big $10 million bill manually, I could actually, let me actually choose one that hasn't been posted yet. I could actually let me click on this one. I could actually make my life a lot easier instead of having to manually code it, and just hit our new copy code feature. And what will happen when you select copy code is that it actually will bring over the previous way that you've coded a bill onto this bill, so you don't have to manually do it again. I apologize, I didn't pick the right vendor. Let me go ahead and pick one that's been posted in the past. There we go. Staples. I have a lot of Staples bills, so this will be perfect. So Staples bill is an example right here. Typically, this bill gets coded the same way every time, but in this sense, it's a little bit different. So what I'm going to do is I have the ability to either copy code it like I've shown, or I have the ability to merge the lines instead of having them captured all at once, or I have the capability to actually allocate the lines as needed instead of having to manually, hit this new line button or hit Control L over and over again. I can just make it so that every time this bill comes in, it automatically gets separated according to the rules that I have in play. So there are a number of ways, regardless of whether you want to copy code bills based on the previous way the bill was coded, based on you can control the capture type, or you can control the allocation. There's a number of ways to automate the entry of your bills, so that way your team has to do as little manual work as possible. And as you can see with the bills that have a PO example, when you do the PO matching, the purchase order coding automatically applies to the bill so that there's no additional work that needs to be done. So that's how bills come into our system. That's how you navigate the screen. When you're ready to go ahead and post your bills, what I typically recommend people do is I say, go ahead and sort by draft to show what hasn't been posted, and then go ahead and sort by approved. And then once you do that, you'll be able to see all the bills that haven't been posted that are ready to be posted. And then you can just hit post right here, select all, and then that will push these into NetSuite. And then when you push them into NetSuite, it's actually going to create a new bill, and it's actually going to submit the document, whatever attachment came with the bill as well. So that way you can see both items in NetSuite. In the event that you make a change to the bill on the NetSuite side, it will update MineralTree. So there's no worries about, issues and things not matching up. So that's how you get the bills into NetSuite once they're put into MineralTree. The next step is to build a payment run. And all you'll need to do in order to build a payment run, you actually have a few options. If you would like to actually build a payment schedule, so that way every time you have this Town of Woodstock bill as an example, you want it to automatically get paid or queued up correctly for payment instead of having to remember. You just select this little payment schedule button. You'll be able to see the default vendor schedules that are available for this vendor. So let's say 15 days before discount date, 10 days before due date, whatever you want to do. And then you can apply it for all payments or payments up to a specific value. So if this is actually very helpful, especially if you have any vendors with some wonky terms. I know companies in the manufacturing industry or any company that's doing a lot of purchasing and ordering of goods that needs to pay things ahead of time or early. This should be very handy. You put the vendor on a payment schedule, and then you're not going to have to manually select the bill to go to the CFO to pay. If you don't do that, then you can certainly just build a payment run manually by selecting the bills from this list, hitting this green button that says submit, and then it will allow you to actually go ahead and hit schedule it. If you want to schedule it for a specific date, you certainly can. If you want to leave it as not set, you can do that. and then you can actually change the amounts right here if you want to, and then you can hit confirm. And then from here, what you'll see is that the bills have been queued up, the due date. If you set the payment date, it will show as well the amount. And then you can also add notes. If you need to pay from a different bank account for whatever reason, let's say it's, instead of your checking account, it's going to be paid from this petty cash account, you certainly can change it on a one-off basis, or you can permanently change it in the vendor settings. And you can also see if for some reason you're paying something outside of our system, you can also mark it as paid just by hitting already paid right here. So that way it updates it NetSuite correctly and there's no chance it gets double paid. Notice there's nothing else you have to do. There's no ACH field. There's no choose your payment type field. And we take a lot of pride in that because a lot of reasons that companies typically get bogged down with AP is because they're trying to remember which vendor gets paid how and what their payment information is, and making sure that's maintained securely is a huge factor in automating your AP to be in a successful way. So don't worry about the payment information. Don't even worry about the payment type. Just make sure we have the right bank account, and we will make sure that your payments are processed and paid to your vendor by the time that they need to get there. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and hit submit, and then I'm going to go ahead and log out and go into my payment authorizer role. I just have to actually log out of this screen and get into my payment authorizer role. So I'm just going to have to stop sharing for 1 second, and I will share again once I'm all logged in. Are there any questions while I'm switching over into the final portion of our demo?
Feel free to submit any questions via the chat feature online as well.
All right. There we go. Just give me 1 more second and I'll be all logged in. All right. So now I'm logged into our payment authorizer role. This is the final step of releasing your payments. And all you need to do when you're here is click on this View My Payments button right here. It will allow you to see the vendor name, the amounts remaining, the due date, the payment date, payment type, whatever you want. And you can easily approve all from here if you want to. If you prefer to look into more of the details, that's where you can actually click on the vendor name right here. You can see who submitted this. You can see the recent payments. You can see the date. You can see the note that I just wrote, please pay ASAP. Hopefully you're nicer to your team than I am. And then you can also see the little document right here. If you're interested in looking at that in more detail, you can just click on that and it'll open that in a new window, along with the coding and the invoice notes and also the invoice approval. So approving from this screen is very straightforward. You can just hit approve and then it checks off on the box right here, my favorite part. If for some reason you need to reject a payment, you can just reject it from this screen, hit wrong invoice amount and just, fix it, have it be fixed from this end. Or if you want to hold on to it and come back to it later, you certainly can. And then finally, I'm just going to go back, hit approve all. When you're ready to approve your payment run, what's going to happen is it's going to send you a code right here. I'm going to type it in. It sends you a code to your phone for two-factor authentication. I'm putting that in right now. And then it does give you the total GL cash before, the value of the selected payments, and then the ending cash. And then all you need to do is hit submit, and then the payment run will go out accordingly. So this is a little bit of what we have to offer. There are many more features and details in depth, especially for NetSuite, that we can go through if you choose to look more closely at MineralTree. This is just a snapshot of it. And then once you hit submit right here, that's when your payments are going out and we're taking care of everything else, and you'll see everything beautifully updated in NetSuite and MineralTree as needed. So that is pretty much the end of the demo. That is a high-level overview of what we have to offer. I'm going to go ahead, and I know that we've wrapped up a little bit early on the demo here. Share my screen on the PowerPoint. And Doug, if you are ready, let me go ahead and make this full screen.
Sure, absolutely.
The microphone back to you. Thank you.
Yeah, Sarah, thank you so much. Let me pause and see. Jenny, you might, if you would open up the session. If there are any questions from anybody, I'll pause for just a second, see if there are any questions for Sarah about the MineralTree platform. Okay. I do want to thank the MineralTree folks for joining us here today. Again, Meridian is an expert in all phases of ERP and the NetSuite platform, including implementation and a partner for long-term support. But one of the elements that we really want to drive forward with this partner spotlight event is the fact that Meridian can be an avenue to access an extensive network of partners and alliances to help you meet your needs, whether you're new to NetSuite, considering NetSuite, or already a customer of NetSuite. And MineralTree is just one of many that Meridian partners with. And if there are questions after today, please feel free to reach out to me directly or reach us at sales@meridianbusiness.com with any questions you may have about NetSuite, Meridian, or more specifically to today's presentation, the MineralTree platform. If you could hit the next slide quick, Sarah. Yep, there. Much of this content will be posted as a blog post on our website. You can find other information about our services and offerings, as well as the NetSuite platform. And again, if there's follow-up, you want to engage Sarah and her team more directly, please just use the sales@meridianbusiness.com and drop us a line. Do appreciate everyone's attendance today. Watch for an update with the blog post, and the content of this presentation today will be provided online, and we will hopefully talk to everybody very soon. Sarah, if there are no additional questions, we can adjourn.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all, and we'll call it here. Again, please reach out to us if we can be of further assistance. Thank you very much.